Alright. For most of my life, at least as long as I've been old enough to feel social fear, I've had seemingly random anxiety with public speaking or public performances. I get scared when I know there's some sort of pressure being put on my speech being clear or coming off well. My heart pounds, my hands sweat or even shake. It almost feels sometimes like my body is more afraid than I really am. I remember feeling betrayed by my body and mind in this way frequently, specifically when I was playing guitar or speaking in front of people in a stage setting. I had stage fright. Of all the things I could fear, all the life-threatening things out there to fear, or things other people had that I saw as more valid fears, like heights, spiders, death, this one felt mundane at best. But the bodily response of fight or flight was still just as present. Before a moment when all the other instruments would cut out and it would be just my guitar solo, my heart would hammer and the mind games my brain would play on itself would begin. I would have thought loops about, man, how bad would it be if I forgot absolutely everything and just forgot my solo and just sitting there playing nothing. And the mind games I would play on myself would sometimes materialize. I would forget the line I had rehearsed for weeks and knew perfectly. Or when I would pray or speak in front of a congregation, my voice would, against my will or actual emotions, start to shake. In discussions in front of a live audience, I would try to force it to be still. But it felt like there was only so much I could really do. My biggest anxiety wasn't the speaking, but the fear that my voice would shake when I was speaking, or that I would forget what I had planned to say. And these were fears that became self-manifesting, too. I wasn't sure why this was happening. I didn't typically think it would be a problem beforehand. I volunteered for these things. But in the moment, my mind and body would fight against me. The anxiety source felt rooted in thought loops about wanting to come off in a certain way. And to combat that, I would tell myself that I just need to be authentic and not try to be anything. Even now, in this moment, I struggle with trying to come off in a certain way. I'm trying to come off as well-spoken or authentic, but with that, it feels like a bit of a paradox, because when I'm trying to be authentic, it can sometimes feel harder to be genuinely authentic because you are trying to be something. And it's one of those things where the more you think about it, the harder it is for it to come naturally. You start to think about what it even means for something to come off as natural or authentic. And you tell yourself to stop thinking about it, which only leads to you thinking about it more. It's oftentimes felt like nothing can stop the thought loops, that how my body reacts is outside of my control. But that ignores what I think is the only real, albeit brutal, solution: just acclimation. I sit on the stage. I do this shit over and over and over. I can make videos to practice. I think there's no progress, but there really is. It's just slower than I would like. And in the context of music, the lines riddled with mistakes I'm playing today, I was playing too quietly for any mistakes to even be heard yesterday. Recognizing this as a barrier to my goals of connecting through music, performing, and communicating my ideas to others has given me a sense of urgency to overcome this. I don't want to be a person controlled by fear. This is a barrier, and I want to be able to express myself clearly, passionately, and in front of people. I don't want my ideas and beliefs getting bottlenecked in my mouth. So the answer for me is to try to seek out fear, and to do it obsessively. I want people to question why the guy with the shaky, mumbly voice keeps volunteering to speak, present, debate, perform, sing, dance. I don't want to be passively consumed by something that tricks my body into a response. With that, though, that's the main thing I want to talk about. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me trying to get some practice with this type of stuff. And if you have a story of overcoming some type of fear, I would love to hear your experience about it in the comments. Thank you for watching.